Welcome to Midnight Grove, where stories unfold in the quiet hours of the night. Tonight's tale, The Watchmaker's Last Customer, follows Daniel, a man who has spent his life chasing time but never truly living in it. One evening, he stumbles upon an old watchmaker's shop where every clock seems to follow its own strange rhythm. Inside he finds a pocket watch engraved with his name, one he does not remember owning. But the shopkeeper insists it was once his. And when a familiar stranger walks through the door, Daniel begins to realize that this is not just a shop. It is a second chance, a moment waiting to be reclaimed. So settle in, listen closely, and let this story remind you. Some things lost to time can still be found if you know where to look. Chapter 1, The Watch That Shouldn't Exist. Daniel had spent his entire life racing against time. Deadlines, schedules, meetings. His world was ruled by minutes and seconds, carefully calculated and never wasted. And yet, on this particular evening, as the city's streetlights flickered in the misty autumn air, he was late. He had left work later than expected, rushed through the usual streets toward the subway, and somehow, without meaning to, taken a wrong turn. It was just a small detour, a quiet street he had never noticed before. But as soon as he stepped onto it, the world felt different. The noise of the city faded. The air smelled of brass and polished wood, of something faintly mechanical. And then he saw it, a small, unassuming shop nestled between two towering buildings. Hewitt's Timepieces. The watchmaker's shop. Daniel frowned. It looked ancient, its wooden sign worn smooth by decades of rain. The windows were fogged, but the soft glow of golden light seeped through, illuminating gears and clock hands displayed in the window. He had never seen it before. But the strangest thing was, the clock hanging above the door was ticking backward. The watchmaker who was waiting. Daniel hesitated. Then, without quite knowing why, he stepped inside. A soft chime rang above the door. The shop smelled of aged leather and oil, of time-worn wood and ticking clocks. Shelves lined the walls filled with pocket watches, grandfather clocks, delicate timepieces balanced on velvet cushions. At the center of the room, behind a polished wooden counter, stood a man, an elderly watchmaker, dressed in an old-fashioned vest, his silver hair neatly combed. He looked up and smiled. "Ah," he said, as if recognizing an old friend. "You finally made it." Daniel's stomach tightened. "I think you have me confused with someone else," he said, shifting uneasily. "I just stumbled in." The watchmaker's smile didn't waver. "No, Daniel, you were always meant to come here." The watch with his name on it. Daniel's pulse quickened. He took a slow step back. "How do you know my name?" The watchmaker simply turned toward a glass display case. And inside, lying on a cushion of deep blue velvet, was a pocket watch, beautiful, silver, engraved with a delicate pattern of interlocking gears. And on the back, in flawless script, "Daniel Everett." Daniel felt his breath catch. This isn't mine," he said. The watchmaker tilted his head. "Are you sure?" Daniel swallowed hard. "I don't own a pocket watch. The watchmaker sighed, as if this was an answer he had heard before. "Perhaps not any more," he murmured. He lifted the watch carefully, placing it in Daniel's palm. It was warm, as if it had been waiting for him, as if it had been carried in his pocket for years. Daniel stared at it, his fingers tracing the engraved letters. Where did this come from? The watchmaker studied him for a long moment. Then, in a quiet voice, he said, "This watch belongs to you, but you gave it away." Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't remember ever owning this watch, but something about it felt uncomfortably familiar, like a memory just out of reach, a clock that doesn't follow the rules. Daniel turned the pocket watch over, fingers brushing the latch. He pressed it open, and inside, the watch was ticking, but not forward, not backward. It was ticking sideways, as if it were counting time in a way that had no place in the real world. Daniel's pulse roared in his ears. "I don't understand," he murmured. The watchmaker gave him a patient smile. "Not yet." Daniel looked up. "Did you say I gave this away?" The watchmaker nodded. Daniel's stomach twisted. "To who?" The old man's smile faded slightly, his gaze turning unreadable. "To someone you once loved." Daniel felt his whole body go still. His mind reeled, searching for an answer. And then the chime above the door rang. The sound shivered through the air as if something had shifted. And Daniel turned, heart pounding, because standing in the doorway was someone he hadn't seen in years. Chapter 2, The Time He Gave Away. The chime above the shop door shivered through the air. Daniel turned, his pulse thudding in his ears. And there, standing in the doorway, framed by the dim light of the street, was her, the person he had forgotten. She hadn't changed. Not really. Her dark hair was still gently curled at the ends, just as he remembered. Her coat was dusted with raindrops, her hands tucked into her pockets. And her eyes were the same shade of deep, knowing brown, the same eyes that had once looked at him like he was her whole world. And now she was looking at him like she wasn't sure if she was awake or dreaming. "Heresy, Daniel?" Her voice was quiet, almost afraid to break the air between them. Daniel swallowed. For a split second his mind felt blank, like he was staring at a face he should know but couldn't place. But then the watch in his hand ticked softly, and something cracked open inside him. Memories flooded back. Her laughter on a crisp autumn morning. The way she would trace circles on his wrist with her fingertips when she thought he wasn't paying attention. The night they stood in the rain, her voice breaking, asking him why he was always in a rush, why he never slowed down enough to really be with her. Her name hit him like a heartbeat. Evelyn. Daniel's breath hitched. Hi, Eve. The watch that brought them back. Evelyn exhaled sharply, as if hearing her name from his lips had been the confirmation she needed. "You remember me?" Daniel let out a slow breath, his grip tightening around the pocket watch. His voice stuck in his throat, 'cause he did remember, but not everything, not yet. She took a step forward, her gaze flickering down to the watch in his hand. "You still have it," she murmured. Daniel's pulse skipped. "You know this watch?" Evelyn hesitated. Then slowly she nodded. "You gave it to me." Daniel's stomach twisted. That wasn't possible. The watchmaker had told him that he had given it away. So why was it here? Why was it back in his hands? Evelyn looked at him carefully. "Do you remember why?" Daniel opened his mouth. And nothing. His mind wouldn't reach far enough. The memory was just out of focus, just beyond his grasp. He turned to the watchmaker. "You said I gave it away." The old man nodded. Daniel swallowed hard. "But I don't remember giving it back." The watchmaker's expression softened. "That's because you never did." Daniel felt something in his chest pulled tight. He looked at Evelyn, and for the first time he noticed she wasn't holding a watch. She was holding a small wooden box. And deep down he already knew what was inside. The memory he left behind. Evelyn exhaled slowly, then stepped forward, placing the wooden box on the counter. The watchmaker said nothing, as if he too was waiting. Evelyn ran a thumb over the lid before carefully lifting it open. Inside was another pocket watch, identical to the one in Daniel's hand. Daniel's stomach turned. "What?" his voice caught. "Why were there two?" Evelyn looked up, her expression quiet, unreadable. "You don't remember, do you?" Daniel clenched his jaw. I don't understand." Evelyn swallowed. "You didn't just give this watch to me, Daniel." She tapped the one in the box. "You left it with me." A beat of silence. "Then, the night you walked away." Daniel's heart stopped. And just like that, the memory hit him like a thunderclap. The night he let go, it was raining. Not just a drizzle, but a storm. He and Evelyn had been standing under the awning of their favorite cafe, the one where they used to sit for hours, hands wrapped around warm coffee cups, talking about everything and nothing. But tonight there were no warm cups, no quiet conversation. Only Evelyn's voice, raw and edged with something close to heartbreak. "I just don't understand you anymore, Daniel. You're always rushing to the next thing, the next job, the next deadline. It's like you're living in a race I'll never catch up to." Daniel's hands had curled into fists at his sides. "That's not fair, isn't it?" she whispered. Then she pulled the pocket watch from her coat pocket, the one he had given her, the one that had once belonged to his grandfather. She held it out to him. "If I give this back to you, will you stay?" Daniel hadn't answered, because he already knew the truth. He had made his choice. He had let the seconds be more important than the moments. And so he had turned and walked away, leaving the watch in her hands, leaving her in the past. A second chance. Daniel sucked in a breath, the memory settling in his chest like a stone. He looked at Evelyn, at the watch she had kept all these years. She was watching him carefully, as if waiting to see if he would do it again, if he would run, if he would let time slip between them once more. The watchmaker, still silent, gently folded his hands over the counter. Daniel licked his lips, his throat tight. "Fez, why did you come back?" he asked quietly. Evelyn exhaled, running her fingers over the old watch. "For the same reason you did." Daniel frowned. "I don't—" She looked up to see if it's too late. His breath hitched. The watch in his hand ticked once. And Daniel realized this was it. The last second before a decision that couldn't be undone. The choice that changed everything. Daniel swallowed hard. The pocket watch in his hand was warm, the one in the box cold. Time waiting, time left behind. He reached for it, and this time, he didn't let go. Evelyn let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. And the watchmaker smiled, because finally, Daniel had stopped running. The watchmaker's last customer, far away in a city that moved too fast for most to notice. A watchmaker's shop stood, tucked between buildings that had long since forgotten its name. And inside, 2 clocks ticked perfectly in sync, because some moments are not meant to be lost. Some people are not meant to be left behind. And sometimes, time waits for those who are finally ready to claim it. Thank you for joining us at Midnight Grove for the watchmaker's last customer. Daniel thought time was something to chase, but sometimes time waits for the right person, for the right moment, for the ones who are finally ready to stop running. As you drift into sleep, may you remember that some choices can still be made, some doors are still open, and some seconds, if held carefully, can change everything. Sleep well, and we'll see you next time for another journey into the quiet magic of storytelling.